All right, so the very last topic we want to cover here is exception handling. So let's go to the top to our main method and let's create the method exception handling. And we already kind of covered this earlier when we looked at the try catch block and we handled the divide by zero exception, but I want to kind of expand on that a little bit more. Now, exception handling is very important in an application to do. First, let's just specify a new static void method here to set this up, exception handling. So exception handling is very important because you may have some instances where you'll have bugs or errors in your code and you don't know exactly what might be causing them. So just to protect yourself in the code's execution, it's important, it's smart for you to use try catch blocks where applicable, so that your program doesn't stop suddenly. It doesn't just stop execution. The worst thing that can happen is you have a real world application and it's live and it runs over the weekend and you have to get called into the office or called online to fix the problem just because you don't know what it is. Now you're spending many hours trying to fix the problem versus having a try catch block and logging that error message to a database. You're able to quickly identify what the problem is and fix it and triage it accordingly. So in this method, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a few examples of how exception handling truly works. So let's start off by defining a couple of variables here. So I'm going to define two integer variables. Int a is equal to 10 and int b is equal to 0. So I think the easiest way to demonstrate this again is by using the same example we used above, but we'll add some more things to it and give it a twist. So let's say, for example, we want to purposely cause a divide by zero exception just to kind of understand more about the concepts here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a try catch block. So try, and within the try block, I'm going to say int result is a divided by b. This is going to, of course, throw a divide by zero exception. So there's no need for me to console write line this. Instead, what I'm going to do is write a catch here. I'm going to say divide by zero exception of ex. And in here, I'm going to say, let's just do ex.message. So if I run this, then we see we have the error message attempted to divide by zero as we had above. Good. All right, so what I want to show you now is that we can actually expand further on this as well. There's actually something called a finally block. And basically what a finally block does is it actually executes despite what the outcome is. Whether there is an exception or not, it will always execute at the end of a try catch. So to demonstrate that, let me set up a list of string. So list string. And in this list, what we want to do is, let's just have a list of shapes, the names of shapes. So new list of string. And in here, we'll just do a shorthand initialization. And in here, I'm going to just add a couple. Let's just say square, rectangle, and circle. Right. Now in here, I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, so we have a list of 3 items, and generally what we want to do is, let's say for example we want to grab a 4th item. Now we know that that does not exist, and that should throw some sort of index out of bounds exception. So let's write a try catch, and this again may be a scenario where you don't necessarily know what might happen in production. In a production environment, you may not know at any time how many items are in a list, for example. So that's the reason this is a good use case of a try catch. So in here, let's say if I want to try to console.writeLine, and I want to try to get, let's make it simple so it's clear, the 10th index. We know that doesn't exist, so there should be an exception message, and we want to catch that. Now, we don't know what kind of exception it may throw. So what we can do is we can use the base class definition of exception, which is just called exception. This is a built-in .NET Framework class that every single exception class inherits from. So it's the parent or base class. So we're going to say exception of EX. And in here, we're just going to say console.writeLine. And let's say this index does not exist. And let's just also output the message just to make sure. All right. So now what we can also do on top of this is we can actually add a finally block. And what this will do is this will execute even if there is no exception. So whether there's an exception or not, it's always going to execute. So finally, at the very end of this execution, it's just console.writeLine, all code has been run. All right, and save. Now let's try to run that and see if it works. So as you see here, the very first thing we see is we're getting an exception because we attempted to access an index that does not exist. And then the very final thing we see here is the all code has been run. So that basically means that the finally block has executed even though there's an exception here. Now what we can do is to test to make sure that it works the other way around. Let's try to grab the 0th index, which will not cause an exception. If I run this, you'll see that basically the square gets outputted, which is in the first index or the 0 index, and then all code has been run gets outputted to the screen. So that means that it ran even though there was no exception thrown. So that's basically how that works. Now, a more complex example, I'm just going to copy some code just to kind of show you a more realistic example of how you would use this. So just bear with me for 1 second. Let me grab it and So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to walk you through what this example looks like. So I'm just going to come down here, make sure I'm putting this in the right place, and paste. Okay. So what this code is doing here, the very first thing is I'm setting a Boolean value of isStudent is equal to false. So basically this person is not a student. Then in the try catch block, I'm checking to see if the current user is a student. If the user is a student, we're just going to output that the user is a student to the console. If the user is not a student, in the else block, we're going to output a specific type of exception, which is going to be one that we'll create in a second. And I'm going to call this custom exception. So as of right now, you're seeing that this is an error message because this does not exist. This is not an actual .NET exception class. So in .NET, we can actually create our own exception classes, and I'm going to show you how that works in a second. So this exception class will take in an argument, which is this string literal. You cannot enroll in this class, essentially. And then finally, we catch the exception if it occurs, right? So we're just outputting that exception message to the console. So what we have to do now to make this fully work is we actually have to create another class. So we're going to go up to the top here and say File, New File. And we're going to create an empty class. And down here, we're going to call that class Custom Exception. So it's Custom Exception. And then we're going to hit Create. And so now we've defined this class. Now in this custom exception class, we're going to want to extend the behavior from the base class to a child class. So this exception class will essentially be a child class of .NET's base exception class. And to do that, all you have to do is to demonstrate inheritance. You just do a colon and the name of the parent class right after the colon. So here we're basically saying that this custom exception class that we're creating is a child class of the base class of exception. Now we have access to all of the methods and properties and fields of the exception class. Whatever's marked as public or protected will be accessible here. So in this exception class, we want to basically have two constructors. We want to have this default one here that does not take in any arguments in the event that we don't have any arguments to pass in. And the use case for that would be if we just want to output the entire stack trace or the entire message. We don't want to specify any special message. We may just give it a no argument constructor. But we're also going to define another constructor that takes in a message from the caller. So how we do that is we say public and the name of this class, which is custom exception, and then we give it the arguments. So it's going to take in a string of message, which will be the exception message. And to make this work perfectly, we need to also extend the base class's method constructor. So we're going to say base, and we're going to pass in message to the base class's constructor to make this work. So the curly braces, and we don't have to put anything within the curly braces. It's pretty much done. So now let's go back to our program class. And I'm thinking everything should work. So let's just give this a shot. Let's run this. And as you can see here, we're seeing that you cannot enroll for this course. And the reason why we're seeing that is because we are getting an exception message because this is not a student. So it's hitting this catch block down here and it's outputting this custom exception instance or value, passing this into the instance of custom exception and outputting this to the console. So this is working. So now you can truly see the real sheer power of .NET and what it does. How you can extend behavior to child classes. This is known as inheritance and polymorphism. Inheritance is the act of creating a child class and inheriting from a base or super or parent class. Those words are interchangeable. And then polymorphism is the act of an object taking on many forms.